Hi guys, so the other night I watched Together, directed by Michael Shanks, a film that you could absolutely categorise as body horror. I don't normally like these sorts of films. In fact, I would say that after horror comedy, body horror is probably my second least favourite subgenre in all of horror. As to why that is, well, if you'd have asked me up until about a week ago, I probably would have just shrugged my shoulders and said, I don't know. But the other night I did come up with a good reason, I think, as to why I'm not into body horror. And that's simply because I struggle to picture myself being in the shoes of the characters whose bodies are changing in weird and wonderful ways. For example, The Fly is a really great body horror sort of film. And I'm certainly fascinated to watch Jeff Goldblum slowly start to take the form of the giant Brundlefly thing. But I certainly can't imagine what that feels like. So the effectiveness of the story is reduced a little bit for me. But if I'm watching a slasher film and somebody's hiding under the bed trying to not breathe too loudly, and meanwhile there's a killer walking around nearby with an axe, I can absolutely imagine what it would be like to be under that bed. And so, you know, I can get my horror buzz on in those circumstances, but not so much with body horror. Somebody suggested to me the other day, they said, why don't you turn your channel into like a cult channel where you only review like 60s, 70s, 80s films? And I said, well, I don't really want to do that because I still like covering newer stuff as well, because I consider my channel to be a horror variety channel more than anything else. But that's not just in reflection of the decades that I cover, but also in the genres that I cover. So every now and again, I will still try and face down some of these subgenres that I'm not massively into, and that's what I'm trying to do today by addressing this film Together, because I did know what this film was about coming into it. It's not like I was suddenly ambushed after 10 minutes and then I thought to myself, oh well, you know, I might as well finish it now I've started it. No, that wasn't the case. I definitely decided to brave this one. Anyway, the story is about a young couple in their 30s who decide to move from the city to the country into a very nice house, and I'm going to say more about that in a minute. But their first week in this place, they decide to go on this hike and explore the local woodlands, see what there is. But they come across this weird place underground and they get stuck there for a while. And something changes these two people physiologically, but they don't notice it at the time. And neither do we, the audience, actually. But once they get back home, they realise eventually that they've developed this strange attraction to each other that goes way beyond the normal sex stuff. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, just in case you haven't seen the movie, but basically the way that they feel towards each other now, it's very dangerous and it could lead to their deaths if they don't figure out a solution. If you've not seen it, you probably sat there thinking that they just want to drink each other's blood or each other's piss or something like that. It's neither of those things, and honestly, you're probably not going to guess it, so just watch the movie. But let's go back to the subject of the house. This place looks fantastic. Surely a 7-figure house minimum. And yet, what do they do for a living? The woman is a teacher and the guy doesn't even have a job at all. So he's like a failed rock star. At the time that this story's happening, he's self-publishing an EP because he's not on a label. There is a little bit of a hint that he used to be on a label for a while and then suddenly he wasn't. But it's not like he used to be a genuine star, built up a fortune and then went on the downward slide. No, he's still somebody trying to follow the dream and failing, it seems to me. And his partner is a teacher of like primary school kids. And this is the time of their life they decided to make the move into the country and buy this incredible place that looks like it cost in the millions. How are they doing that? This is something you see a lot in movies. And one day, I swear, I'm going to do a video, maybe even a ranking, where I showcase the 10 people who are the most guilty of this in movies. And this couple are definitely going to be on there. The two stars of this are Alison, Brie, and somebody Franco. And I'm not going to guess his first name because there are several Francos in the world of acting, and I'm bound to get the wrong one. I instantly felt familiarity with the name Alison Brie, So I was surprised to look at her filmography and realise I'd only seen her in one other movie, Scream 4, where I believe she played Sydney's publicist, but I could be wrong on that. What I suspect happened here is that in my mind's eye, I got this woman confused with another actress called Alison Williams. Not only do they share a first name, but they also look kind of similar, at least in my head. As for Franco, I don't think I've seen any of his other films. About halfway through watching this, because I was seeing it on Amazon Prime, I was suddenly given three minutes of adverts all at once, and I thought to myself, oh. And that was the point, I think, where I got my phone out and looked these two actors up. But what I also found out about them is that they are a real life couple. And I was a little bit disappointed to discover this, because I kind of feel like it takes a little bit of the movie magic away if the couple you're watching on screen are also in a romance off the screen. I think for some people it would be the other way around. They'd probably think, oh, well, that just makes it even more authentic. They're seeing each other away from the camera. But I don't know, I just kind of feel like there's something to be said for bringing two actors in, having them meet for the first time, and then creating a relationship right in front of your eyes. You know, I just think there's something cool and special about that, and you don't get it in this film. Although I suppose the fact that Brie and Franco are married in real life certainly would have made the one sex scene much easier to shoot than it otherwise would have been. Presuming, of course, that the pair of them have past experience of shagging in the toilets of a girls' school. If not, then I guess that would have been at least one challenge for them in an otherwise comfortable experience. Let's move on from this point. Anyway, it's a good film, and I'm pleased to be able to say that, because films like this are always up against it when it comes to me and my tastes. This is a very simple concept. It's very easy to follow. The story goes from A to B. You get a definitive ending. This is not something that needs a sequel. I think the idea on display here is very creative and well thought out. There's not much there in terms of soundtrack, which is a bit disappointing given that one of our characters is a wannabe rock star. But it's a nicely shot film. We're in a scenic location. We're in somewhere rural. I don't know where this was filmed, but the surrounding forest and the house, it all looks nice. Very good. I'm also appreciative of the fact that this film doesn't get too schlocky and gory. I remember watching The Substance last year and my brain was just fried by the time it got to the last 10 minutes. This is a really gross concept, what you get in Together, and they could have really focused on that. They could have had like all sorts of horrible images in front of you, especially in the final third of the film. They could have packed the latter half of this with gore aplenty. They could have made it like a mashup of The Substance and Society and other such gross out films, but they haven't done that. They've kept the focus on the tension of the situation and the emotions of the characters, both individually and within this relationship, and I did appreciate that. This is the sort of film where you could sort of draw parallels between the relationship that you're seeing in the story and relationships in real life. There's almost like a subliminal idea that's going to be presented to you here that it's a good thing to get away from your partner, spend time following your own interests. Being together a lot can be very unhealthy, so take heed of this movie. You know, you might start to think those sorts of things after watching this, definitely. I do have a couple more nitpicks before I wrap up. So when the couple are in the cave, which is basically like the ground zero place for the whole film, it seems like they're stuck in there because they've fallen in through the roof and there's no way to get out. They brought no rope with them. Their cell phone signals aren't working. They're stuck and they seem very down about the fact that they've fallen into this dark place. So what are they going to do? Well, in the meantime, they hunker down and they build a little campfire and drink a bottle of wine that one of them's got in one of their backpacks. But all the time I'm thinking, yeah, this is all well and good, but how are they going to get out of this pickle that they've landed in? Well, quite easily, actually. The following day, they just wake up and decide to leave. They climb up the vines and get out, as if they've known all along that they could do that whenever they pleased. And yet, the film presents their situation as if they were stuck. So it's kind of weird that they just decide to leave. Later on, they're looking at a photo on a computer screen, and it's a photo of a couple that used to live in this same area, but they went missing. And obviously, the same thing that's now happening to our main characters also happened to this couple before, and presumably these people are now dead. But while we're looking at this photo of this young couple, I'm just thinking, any moment now, they're going to spot like a clue in the background of this photo that's going to alert them to the fact that these two couples were both pretty much living in the exact same area. Except this didn't happen. We changed scenes, and I thought to myself, okay, well, that's fine. Not every prediction you make is going to pan out. But later in the film, and we're talking like days in terms of the timeline, they get this photo back up again. Except this time the guy says, "Oh, look at that in the background, a clue." And I'm thinking, yeah, I guessed that there would be a clue in this photo like half the film ago, and you just didn't think of it. It was pretty obvious that that was going to happen, wasn't it? Right, I think that me, the reviewer, and you, the viewer, have spent far too much time together over the course of the past 10 minutes or so. So I think that we should now separate, go our completely separate ways, because that is very healthy. You don't want to spend too much time together in any shape or form. That's something that I learned from watching this movie. So in that spirit, I think it's time to get to the bag of terror and find out how we're going to score together. Let's do it together, shall we? Can't seem to get the knives out of the bag today. There we go. We've got 1, 2, 3.5 Michael Myers carving knives out of 5. I wonder throughout the entire course of this channel whether I've ever given a body horror type movie this good of a score. So that should tell you that this is actually pretty decent. You should absolutely give it a try. Now, my next review is going to be of a film that was recommended by one of you fairly recently in the comments. So keep an eye out for that. But until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.